Another technique. Move until your hair falls out, and then use this back of the shear to hold it. As soon as that hair starts falling out, use the back of the shear to hold it, recomb it. So watch again, right next to this. I'm going to begin down here, make it a little bit shorter. Then I'll start to lift, lift, lift. As soon as that hair is about to fall out, I'll use the back of the shear to hold it. This makes it really easy. Eventually you won't even have to lift. Eventually you won't even have to use the back of the shear. But this just really shows
Okay, in this technique I'm going to make a guide from the nape, and I'm going to cut it all the way to the top and line up with about the center of the eyebrows. Then I'm going to take a section from the apex and I'm going to cut a horseshoe guide down to the back of the ears on both sides.
Okay, so now we have one guide going this way and one guide going this way. This should make life pretty easy to do the rest of this haircut in a scissor over comb. I'm going to push this down. I have one guide here, and my other guide, I have it here. So basically all I really need to do is connect this guide to this guide. And a good way for you to practice the motion is to use a pair of thinning shears while you do this. The motion is here. I'm going to cut and I'm going to roll it out towards me. This is what we do, and we never just cut and keep it still. We usually cut and we lift at the same time. So during this first cut here, you'll see I got my guide here, my longer part here. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to slide the comb in. A lot of people are wondering, what am I cutting? What am I doing in this particular spot? I'm kind of making up my own guide here. I'm just cutting the very bottom so I see that it's all even. And now I'm going to go ahead and lift it and cut into the top section. So now a lot of people want to see, I want you to come really close, what am I doing here? I'm going to comb this hair just out just so you can see. This hair is shorter right here and this hair is longer right here. So all I'm really doing is I'm letting this fall out and I'm going to start cutting as I lift up. Also paying attention to this guide right here. In the future you won't even need to put these two guides in. I'm just doing this to make this easier for you. So anyways, I let the bottom fall out. As soon as the bottom falls out, I cut and I lift. You don't have to lift all the way rapidly or anything like that. You just cut and you lift. So here I am letting this hair fall out. You see these hairs that are starting to fall? I'm letting them lift. I'm letting them fall. Lift. I'm letting them fall. You see these hairs here? So now I can check this by just combing it all out, combing through it slowly, seeing if there's any long ones in there. If there is, I know it's safe to cut. So I'll continue going up and up. With enough practice at this cut, you can do a full scissor cut in 5 minutes, and you can be very accurate with it too. Now I'm not going to do the other side. You guys know what that's going to look like. I'm going to just show you the way I cut the top. I find it to be very efficient and really fast. Okay, so I already have my guideline in previously. Notice I switched to a shorter shear. When I cut the top, I like switching to a shorter shear because it makes it easier for me to put a lot of texture in a client's hair if they ask for that. So I'm going to begin by picking up the guide that I already cut in the beginning. Okay, my guide is right here, and I'm going to cut this off. So I'm going to begin at the very front. I'm going to cut the bangs right along with it. You can really see it here. I'm going to cut this right along with it. And I'm staying right in this lane, right next to my guide, moving back. Notice how I'm not down here, I'm not over here. I'm staying right in this little lane. Nothing to cut there. So I keep moving back. A little bit to cut here. A little bit to cut here. I'm going to go right along the opposite side of it. I'm going to stay right next to my guide, moving back, not moving off down this side. If you move too far from your guide, I promise you, you'll be back recutting it over and over again, wasting time, and it's going to cost you money. So here we are again, lifting this out, staying now in a lane like this, right off of this side of the head, not worrying about the other side right now, just moving back. Okay, and at the very least, I'll just make sure it matches what I did with my scissor over comb. And I'm cutting it right into that length that I did with scissor over comb on this side. And with the scissor over comb, you could easily have came up this high with it. Just come up all the way to right about here on this side and on this side. And when you do the top and you cut it with a smaller pair of scissors, you're only cutting about this much hair. I mean, it's a tiny area of hair that you leave. When you do scissor over comb everywhere else, you leave this little bit of hair right here. You cut this with the scissors. This shouldn't take you more than 3 minutes at the most to cut the top. So here I'll come to the other side and I'll just finish this up. And I like using a smaller pair of shears here because I can go and I can put a lot of texture in just like this. And again, I'm still not moving far off from my guide. I'm staying in that same spot. And remember, I didn't cut the other side with scissor over comb. I'm trying to come up with ways to shorten my video. So that's your basic scissor over comb cut there. Now let me show you how you could easily do a nice taper also with a scissor over comb method. I'm going to come all the way in here and I'm just going to take all the hair that I can in this comb and tip it out just a little bit. So here I am, combing all the way in here, tipping it out just a little bit. And I'm going to move it side to side, cutting all that hair. Now because this is a mannequin, it sticks out funny. On real people's hair, you wouldn't even have to do that step I just did there. Okay, now I've cut it really short. I'm just going to start lifting it out and cutting it. Lifting it out and cutting it, lifting it out and cutting it. This is the side I didn't cut before. Just cut some of that out of my way. Now comb it all out. Comb it all out, and you can see if there's anything longer in there. As long as you're rolling the comb towards you, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I would never hesitate to cut the back of somebody's hair this short, especially a men's haircut, because the grow back is going to be so much nicer. But as you see, I'm just lifting and cutting. The bottom of my hair is falling out. As I lift, these sections that I cut become over-directed, therefore they're not long enough to be cut. So as I lift, I cut, and in a way this is cutting just like a guard to a clipper would, because I'm just lifting and I'm cutting, and I'm holding this out at the same length. Sometimes I use my pinky to anchor. Maybe if I wanted to just do a little cleanup somewhere, I could use my pinky, or I could use my other fingers to anchor. But generally when you're doing scissor over comb, it's smooth, together, rolling out towards you. Alright guys, that's another scissor over comb. Hope it helps. Thanks for watching. Alright guys, I just did a blow dry. That's the single most important factor in doing any haircut if you want to check for mistakes. So let's bring it in right over here. And I'm just going to point out a couple little things. And you're going to notice that it's just a little bit choppy over here. You can see it's a little bit longer over here. If I didn't blow it dry, I would never know it. But the good thing is, this is only going to take just a tiny second to readjust, adjust, done, smooth it out, About done. And let's have a look over here. See, it's a little choppy over here too. I could easily straighten this out while it's dry, still using the same technique, scissor over comb. Imperative that you dry your haircuts. It's the only way that you're going to see any of these lines, any of this weight, and you're going to be able to make the adjustment, and then that way your client's going to be happy with you and they're not going to have any complaints. They're going to come back to you for another great haircut.